What is up, YouTube? It's Onion Bomb here. Welcome back to another Honkaiimpact 3rd reaction video. Today we're back with the lore playlist and whatnot. Yeah, we are in to I think the end of part 1 stuff. Last time we stopped with the end of part 5. I, I'm so close I am to having the ability to speak, but at the end of part 1, chapter 35. That's the last video we watched. And yeah, this one is What is Finality by Homu Labs, a comprehensive guide to understanding the Honkai. Which is very interesting. So let's get into this, shall we? Oh yeah, the Honkai onion. The Honkai onion. Well, I saw this last one. What is that about? Probably onion has layers, maybe. Like layers. I don't know. It's just funny because onion bomb.
For many years, Honkai was a concept we knew almost nothing about. But that is the case no more. With the dawn of the latest story arc, the true nature behind this previously unexplained phenomenon was revealed. After 6 years barely scratching the surface of this concept, chapters 33 and 34 finally gave us permanent brain damage, but also much needed answers. The only thing I urge you to keep in mind is that the concept of Honkai is still hard to grasp and it requires some personal interpretation to present it in a cohesive video format. As even more information could be revealed in the future, some things may change or prove to be outright false. In my opinion, Honkai is not something that can have a universally true explanation. It's an alien concept to humanity that our minds weren't made to fully comprehend. It's like explaining physics to a dog. So, by saying that Honkai is that or that Honkai is this, it's like taking one layer of an onion and saying, look, this is an onion, when in fact it's not, it's just one layer of the onion. The true onion are all the layers on top of each other, but because each character sees a different layer of the onion, they also use different analogies when talking about it. So what I want to do is go through each layer of the Honkai onion and explain it separately.
It's almost like it's an explosion of explanation to the bomb. Or to the onion, so it's like an onion. I was working something in the mind to get it, but something's there. I just didn't bring it together.
Honkai is an unknown force that rises with the advancements of human civilization. This is the oldest and most simple definition that, well, turned out to be kinda wrong. Welt confirms in chapter 34 that this was more of a assumption and that in reality all the flow of Honkai energy is controlled by the cocoon of finality, this giant meatball from the moon. Yes, there might be small correlations between humanity's technological advancements and how active the cocoon of finality is, but that's a much more complex situation. It's better to say that Honkai rises when it thinks that humanity is ready for its embrace and a more advanced civilization is more prepared. Selene failed in the previous era because no matter how much Honkai energy it converted, the cocoon would just bring out more. There wasn't just a set amount of Honkai energy present, depending on how advanced they were. Oh! And did I mention that humanity is also trapped in a freaking 50,000 years old samsara by the finality? So how advanced we are doesn't matter anyways, because after 50,000 years everything resets. But let's go into more details about this in the next section.
Honkai is a test.
This perspective was offered by Atto in chapter 17. By this point, we started to explore more into the cosmology of the Honkai universe, tackling concepts such as the Sea of Quanta and the Imaginary Tree. So we kinda knew that Honkai must be related to those concepts. Atto calls Honkai a corrective system in the imaginary tree that breeds, nurtures, tests and removes civilizations. Now that we have some context, I can say that he wasn't really wrong. We know that Honkai does indeed come from the imaginary tree, and what it does can be indeed interpreted as a test. My qualms with this are the fact that Ado calls it a system in the imaginary tree, which is not quite true in my opinion. Rather than a universal system, Honkai is more so the influence of a higher being from the imaginary tree that we refer to as the finality. Sure, you can argue that it's just semantics, but I wanted to point this out. In Ato's interpretation, I believe that the word test refers to the evolution of human civilization. Kevin mentioned at some point that finality wants to embrace humanity. It's important to note that in this context, embrace refers to the fact that finality wants to force humanity to evolve. Tesla said in chapter 34 that each Hersher is like an embrace from its power, and that finality has the authority of time because it functions on a trial and error basis. If the embrace fails to force humanity's evolution, it resets everything and tries again. Now, if that's the case, the new question is why? Dr. May calls it a civilization that became one will, implying that finality is just a higher form of civilization that seeks out less advanced civilizations on the imaginary tree that have the potential to evolve and become part of it. It's like us taking some literal monkeys and force them to evolve into humans, but on a cosmic scale. So, in my opinion, this is the test that Ado was talking about. We pass when we can find a way to evolve and become a part of finality. The only thing that seems to have changed from Ado's explanation is that if we fail, we know now that the samsara is reset. We do not fall into the Sea of Quanta like it was previously stated, but from chapter 32, we learn that finality's powers can in fact create multiple bubble universes from the impact it has on the world when it resets the samsara.
Honkai's fiction. What? This isn't real history?
This is the concept of Honkai looked at through the lenses of philosophy and is closely tied to Plato's theory of forms. Prometheus says that reality binds fiction. In this context, fiction means anything imaginary that is not constrained by the limitations of our reality. Imaginary space is a space where concepts and ideas exist freely without being bound by any laws. In short, they can simply exist as platonic ideals. Honkai is essentially the entire concept of fiction existing in a way that is virtually incomprehensible to humanity. Hershers rule over some concepts like reason, void, domination, or death. These concepts are all narratives that humanity itself has come up with, and they have a meaning that most people will understand. Hershers are the rulers of said concepts, and they hate being bound by reality and its laws. In a sense, you can say that Honkai is using humanity's concepts and ideas against them. The reason why Honkai tries to destroy humanity is precisely because of this exact opposing nature of our existence. Humanity represents a shared story of many, while Honkai likes to be the protagonist. While in the imagination of a writer, the story can be anything and it's free to develop into endless possibilities. But the moment the writer uses its pen to transcribe the story from his imagination to reality, that's when fiction gets trapped in a cage. How many times have you seen people write fanfiction or do fan art of some moments in a story that they wanted to see but never got the chance? Our need for making fanfiction stems from a collective desire to take control over a narrative and free it from the author. That is the exact same reason why the imaginary wages war against reality, and that's why the previous era Hershers had such a strong hatred towards humanity. If you want a deeper understanding of this interpretation, I recommend to watch my video about Project Stigma, where I go into more details.
Honkai wants to hug you.
This explanation is easier to understand because it's more science fiction and less philosophy. But even so, it created a lot of misunderstandings in the community. To explain the concepts behind the Honkai, the characters have to use a lot of analogies, and sometimes, depending on how they use them and how accurate the English localization is, those analogies can do more harm than good. I saw so many people thinking that Honkai is some kind of lonely god that just sits in a dark corner of the universe and is looking for friends. And while this is not really wrong on a conceptual level, people are looking at it through very shallow lenses. We are talking about a higher form of existence that we cannot understand, so we use analogies like embrace, love and lonely to simplify it. These are not meant to be taken literally. Anyway, Dr. May speculates that finality is just a more advanced form of a civilization where the individuals became one will, similar to the spiritual Adam that Project Stigma wants to create. It's a sort of cosmic collective consciousness that is looking to grow, to expand, so it instinctively looks for other forms of civilization that have the potential to become part of it and tries to force their evolution into imaginary beings like itself that can coexist with it. Project Stigma tries to find some sort of compromise by spreading the embrace of finality evenly to the new humans and making them coexist with finality. This way, humanity won't be completely gone and its ideas can still continue to exist as forms. Finality doesn't have any ill will, love, or any kind of human emotion. It's more like an instinct. It's a cosmic level entity that we cannot comprehend, so we use simple human analogies to make sense of its behavior. Please don't take them literally. What you should take literally instead is me saying to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up to get more Honkai related content.
Finality.
A question I see asked a lot is if Honkai and finality are the same thing. Short answer, yes. Long answer, not really. Here is my interpretation. Honkai, in its essence, is energy from imaginary space. Let's call it imaginary energy. In its natural state, the energy lies in imaginary space and doesn't do much. But under the influence of a will advanced enough to control it, the energy can be brought in lower dimensions and bent to the will of that higher entity. We have seen even humans have a certain degree of control over imaginary energy. A good example would be Durandal's photo from chapter 34 that shared her memories with Siegfried and Kiana. That photo is an imaginary construct made from Durandal's memories. In my humble opinion, Honkai is imaginary energy under the influence of finality, which is a higher form of existence on the imaginary tree and has a much more advanced control over the imaginary energy. Since finality has no real form, it projected itself in the world of Honkaiimpact 3rd in the form of the cocoon of finality, from where it can bring and control the imaginary energy. The imaginary energy under the influence of finality is what we call Honkai. So, finality equals a higher form of existence, Honkai equals energy from imaginary space under finality's control. Again, this is my personal interpretation. I'm sure that chapter 35 will give us more answers.
The Will of Honkai.
Now this is a topic I want to talk about for quite some time. In chapter 31EX, we found out that the Will of Honkai is actually a version of Prometheus, an AI created by Dr. May to assist in fighting the Honkai. In the last moments of the previous era, Prometheus hacked the cocoon of finality and forced it to repeat the same Herrscher cycle in the new era and give Kevin the authority of finality. Note that this implies that even if the Samsara keeps repeating, the Herrschers are not necessarily the same, and this makes sense given the whole trial and error functionality of finality. If the Herrscher of the Void failed in the previous cycle, why send it again? This is also a really nice reference to the myth of Prometheus, who in Greek mythology stole the fire from gods and gave it to humans. But, in my opinion, Prometheus and the Wheel of Honkai are not exactly the same existence. Mobius clearly said in the same chapter that Prometheus will lose its human-like way of thinking and become part of finality. I see the Wheel of Honkai more like an avatar of finality that has been programmed to do certain things by the previous era, and its existence as Prometheus has been completely lost. Oh boy, now here we have some big revelations. In chapter 34, we learn that Herschers aren't actual Herschers. Or, to be more exact, they are lesser versions of a true Hersher. The meatball of the cocoon of finality is actually one giant Hersher core, and the other Hersher cores are just projections of its powers through different dimensions. This means that the only true Hersher is the Hersher of finality, and all the other Hershers are like shadows of its power. Anti-Entropy's plan to stop the Honkai is to create an artificial Hersher of finality and let humanity take direct control over its authority to stop the Samsara and block the imaginary singularity from the cocoon to bring more Honkai energy into reality. Because Sirin could wield 6 authorities without losing herself, Anti-Entropy wants to gather all the Hersher authorities and make Kiana into an artificial Hersher of finality. But more on that plan in another video. Oh, and chapter 34 also reveals that there are no Hersher personas in the current era. What we thought that it was a Hersher persona in May's case was actually the wheel inside her stigma this whole time. You see, May had a natural stigmata that gave birth to a wheel similar to Red Cele when her father implanted the Gem of Conquest inside her to save her life. This caused May to think that the other wheel was created by the Honkai, but in fact it was her stigma all along. Honestly, this makes more sense given what we know about Elysia's sacrifice. Is it a retcon? I mean, yeah, probably. I saw some people bringing Anna up and how she fought over control with her Hersher persona. And while I see where they are coming from, these recent chapters also imply that a person can just lose control of themselves as a Hersher if they are not well suited to adapt to that power. What happened with Anna was more like her going berserk and losing control over her own will. We never saw a Hersher persona in there. The characters assumed that she was fighting one because they didn't know at that time that Honkai has no influence over Hershers in this era.
Aeon Terminus.
Because of the Sky People and the Sugars, we know that Honkai is not limited only to the world of Honkaiimpact 3rd. But that begs the question, does this higher form of existence have a different name in other worlds? And oh boy, you'd be surprised. If you played through the beta of Honkai Star Rail, there was an interesting message on one of the loading screens that talked about a being called Terminus, and I quote, "The eon that moves backwards in time and presides over the path of finality." Sounds familiar? Finality? Time? Eon? Not to mention that the loading screen is accompanied by this very familiar symbol. Look, I don't want to say anything since we lack evidence to make a foolproof connection, but there is a very high chance that this higher form of civilization on the imaginary tree that caused the Honkai to appear in the universe of Honkaiimpact 3rd is Terminus, the eon that resides over the path of finality. Oh, and I also think that the Sky People could be the Okay, look, I have no freaking idea how to pronounce this. Who are worshippers of the Eon Terminus said to await their encounter with him. So, what is Honkai? Well, it's a test. It's fiction. It's destiny. It's an alien civilization from a higher dimension that wants to eat us. It's an evolution mechanism. It's a natural disaster. It's a concept beyond our understanding. Honkai can be interpreted and understood on a very large scale, and while none of these interpretations are particularly wrong, they will also never be able to encapsulate its whole meaning.
Interesting. Yeah, what is Honkai? Did didn't realize it was like such like a complicated question, or like a, well, what is the meaning of life type of vibe. But that was a great video on it. Um, yeah, I mean, I've touched upon this a few times, but for like the amount of it's kind of surprising to see like how interpretive some of the stuff is in the game and how deep it is, and it's definitely like something I feel like they didn't have to do for like the game they made, like the type of gotcha game. So it is very very cool, um, for them to like make this whole like story thing and like go all like put a lot of care and stuff into it, and put just so much thought and attention to detail in the story. Very very nice, very very nice. And one thing, that was a great video by Homu Labs. Great video. Very, very much a comprehensive and in-depth analysis. Very nice. Yeah, definitely some complicated stuff. All right, here we go. We have animated short graduation trip official upload. This is something I definitely have watched, but as for now, here, this is like the finale short, the final short. I was definitely interested definitely interested in seeing this again, and wondering how like now how hard it was gonna hit after like watching stuff from this series for a year, and like getting to this point in the playlist of like going over the story. But here we go.
一つの物語が終わるとき、私たちはその始まりを思い出す。まるで昔に戻ったかのように。
例えば今のように。そうだろう。君は驚いていないようだ。
Auto on the train.
この景色、懐かしいだろう。
うぬぼれないで。
Oh.
彼女は私たちと違う。まだ進み続けるんだから。どう？私に会って驚いた？ところで、一人足りないね。これで揃った。
しかし残念だ。僕たちの物語はもう終わった。過去の人は過去に残ってもらおう。
じゃあさよなら。
So that Otto and that puppet Hersher.
なんか言ってくれないの？よくやった。メイ先輩。
May in the rooftop.
昔と変わらないね。ええ。いろいろあったね。本当にいろいろあったわ。今回もここでお別れなの？いいえ。今回は最後まで一緒に歩くわ。
Bunny!
私たちはさまざまな場所に行ってたくさんの思い出を残した。これは愛の物語。
This one is very well animated too.
愛に満ちた結末がある。だから昔と同じように一歩ずつ前に進もう。ほら、私たちの足跡、どんな時もここにある。
The gang's all here.
Kiana. When good friends are going away,
Bruh.
will you wish them to remember your name? When good days are passing away, will you promise your heart remains the same?
Oh, Himiko.
Never can we suspend the time, having to leave the tracks behind. There is a longer way ahead. After all, there used to be a storyteller who always painted the sunshine and the rain. As you eventually grow up, spending a lifetime to taste of life and pain. Never can we suspend the time, having to leave the tracks behind. There is a longer way ahead. After all, if it's too hard to say goodbye,
Aurora Borealis.
give us a chance
This time
to
of
sing
year.
around. Feel the beauty of this world. Always shine.
Oh, dang. Man, what a finale, in a way. I mean, because I know there's like part 2 and like a post Honkai Odyssey, but for like the part 1 story, like what a story and finale. Alright, so I just took a moment there just to kind of just look through the comments to see what people were thinking or what people are saying. This top comment had me weak. Let the people in the past stay in the past, said Otto, who caused half the storyline from trying to revive Cal. And that is very top comment worry. That was very funny. And some of them, expressed, how they're being feels. I'm not gonna lie, man, that did kind of, uh, hit the feels a lot, tug at the heart. When Himiko, said Kiana, that definitely that was definitely the most emotional part. And also, someone I mentioned, probably not be able to find the comment, but this whole train thing. Yeah, I know the Honkai in Star Rail, there's some sort of space train thing. I wonder if there's any connection with that. Probably not, cause I know I have all the explanations about universes and they're different universes, but in the same bubble thing. Or I've learned a lot of complicated stuff about Honkai. I don't know why this is remixed. There's some body pillow thing. That's not what I wanted to say. But also checking the new one. Get some of the newer comments. Only 5 days ago. Also, I saw that this was uploaded March 2nd, 2023. Which sometimes, I don't know. I know the very beginning of Honkai was a while ago at this point, but sometimes I kind of forget part one. This whole thing just didn't kind of conclude until 2 years ago. Kind of, sort of going on 3. I think it might be more so towards 3 than 2, but at the time of me first, this video wasn't even 2 years old, I don't think. Yeah, it wouldn't have been till that March, and then actually March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, we're at about that halfway point. It's almost October now, so about this halfway point of it being 2.5 years old. So I think it was 1.5 years old when I first watched it. That's kind of crazy, But not to I don't know, expose people, but I just thought this was interesting conversation. That someone says never really got into part 2 of HI3. This was the perfect ending for me, and then kind of talked about the community. And someone said I believe made captains feel the same way. So yeah, I feel for some, this was the ending of Honkai. If part 2 is just not hidden for them, or they're just it's not the same. This was definitely an ending, maybe not the absolute ending, but this was definitely an ending, and it was a really good one. And this thing, man, it hits so much. If I played the game for 6 years watching this, I'm not one. I'm not even trying to brag and be look how manly man I am. But this just the truth. I don't really cry too often when it comes to stuff media. Maybe a little water in the eyes a few times, but I don't often cry at something. It's not that it's never ever happened, but just not often. But if I saw this after completing the game, I staying up to date with it for 6 years, being active in the community, that probably would get me. It probably got a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably in that same boat. Because I'm low key feeling it just watching the videos for so long. But yeah, now the song I think is the capo, and this is a nice song as well. This was a great one.
Days are passing away. Will you promise your heart remains?
I'm a little confused though, this stuff with them and everyone chilling at the end. Was that a what if thing, or did that actually happen before Kiana had to stay behind? Leave the tracks behind.
There is a longer way ahead.
This was very nice though.
say goodbye. Give us a try to sing around. You're the beauty of this world. Always shine.
That one's up there too. I thought like going through some of these songs, there'd be some sort of clarity of like which one I like the best. I don't know. I really don't know. I like them so much. I do kind of like maybe want to like think about that one day, maybe rank them. But I don't know. If I do a tier list, I don't think none of them are gonna get below A. I don't think. None of them may even get below S. I don't know. I don't know, man. That's crazy.
ヒーローになることは
Oh. Who is Kevin Keslana? A lore guide for HSR players. Okay. Man, what a fanatic. I don't know what videos are gonna be after this. Like I'm still seeing like, you know, some like just some like, you know, Kiana stuff, and like I'm not quite seeing part 2 stuff yet, unless I'm just not looking right in the thumbnails, but yeah, we have made it to past like the graduation trip, so that might be on the horizon. Very interesting. But first, who is Kevin Keslana?
ヒーロー
And
に
this is
な
what
ることは
HS
誰
at
もが
Honkai Star Rail.
しかし誰もがヒーローであればこの世界はどれほどひどくなるのか誰もが知っている
Honkai has a couple of people who can be called heroes. Welt and Kiana are some of those examples. So how about a guy by the name of Kevin? He has been recently referenced in HSR's 2.1 quest, and I'm assuming there are many people who don't know his story, and can only go with what Welt has said about him. So let me explain the story of a hero who attempted to save humanity for 50,000 years until being surpassed by the heroes of the current era. Now, as this video is going to be watched by some people that know almost or completely nothing about Honkaiimpact lore, I'll try to explain a bit of everything if things get confusing, okay?
Hey, I know
Kevin
something
was
after
just a
all
normal
this.
guy who transferred to a school by the name of Chiba Academy, a very prestigious school in Nagazora. He was very popular, very athletic, and was called the Prince of Chiba Academy. He also liked a girl by the name of Mei. A side note, if I may add. All the names that are recognizable should be considered as their own characters, despite having similar looks or name. So, Kevin and Mei had a very cuddly relationship until the Honkai Nation attacked. The Honkai is
Honkai
essentially a
Nation.
force of nature that attacks many human civilizations across multiple worlds with monsters, plagues, or natural disasters.
Side note, I would love for him to make more like slice of life stuff too, like another season of Cooking with Valkyries, or like another like animation like this. Well, I think this was Elf Academy. I'd like to see more of that.
Previous
As
era, the Honkai was considered to be a minor threat by all, until godlike beings named Herschers appeared. They were originally a light threat to deal with, but that changed when the third Herrscher destroyed Nagazora. So during that time, when Mei and Kevin escaped the city, they were approached by Firemoth, a universal organization that tried to defeat the Honkai. This organization was very much interested in Mei because she was considered a genius, and would want her as a strong asset against the Honkai. They hired her, along with Kevin because he was a simp to Mei and wanted to fight with her as a soldier.
どんな理想でも他人の理想を踏みにじらなければ実現できない認められないなら君自身が気づいていないだけだそれを基準にして考えれば人は2種類に分かれるそれができる者はヒーローと呼ばれ他の者たちは凡人だと思われる
During Kevin's time as a soldier for a few years, 3 Herschers came to the world until being killed by Firemoth, bringing the kill count to 6. On the surface, it was seen as an achievement, with many more people, like Cosma, joining Firemoth, and it would be great. However, on the inside, the Herschers were getting harder to kill, and it was harder to spawn against. So something was needed to be done fast as the Honkai released another Hersher, turning it into a literal wildfire with the 7th Hersher. Again, not the same Himiko. This Hersher was very powerful, more powerful than any other threat seen. So to stand a chance, Mei proposed Project Soldier, which made people gain abilities from the genes of Honkai beasts, while also gaining the side effects of said genes physically. These people would be called Mantis Soldiers. Kevin was the first to participate in said project, and came out of it successfully, gaining powers of the Honkai beast Parvati, who was capable of using ice powers. As such, an ice versus fire thing happened, and Kevin won against the Hersher. This gave Kevin PTSD as the Hersher gained a human consciousness for the last seconds of her life. A similar thing happened with the 6th Hersher, which caused Kevin to hesitate, leading to more deaths. This PTSD was a big thing for him, but because of his side effects of the genes, making his entire body temperature go sub-zero, made things more difficult for him and those around him. So he had to isolate himself from many people, especially Mei, making him go from this go-lucky guy to a cold, war-driven soldier who's very antisocial and has PTSD. However, this made him into the most powerful soldier in Firemoth. Along with the fact that this is when the Divine Keys were made, humanity was looking like they had a chance against the Honkai, but the Herschers that came after were very problematic and chaotic, requiring a more different approach.
鳥はなぜ飛ぶと思う？
それは飛びたいからだ。
しかしありえない。
なら君の答えは？
飛ばないといけないからだ。
適合者のみが生き残れると信じているんだな。結末は全てを検証する試金石となり、勝利のみが氷となる。ならば若者よ、今回語るのはイカロスという若者。そして君に知ってほしいんだ。墜落するために飛び上がる人間もいるのだと。
Interesting
The 8th
conversation.
Hersher made people dead through word combinations. The 9th destroyed 1/6 of the world by making a black hole. Fun fact about that. The divine key made from that Hersher, Star of Eden, is the cane that Welt uses in HSR, making Welt potentially the most powerful guy in HSR, unless we get a Hersher level villain in the game. Anyway, back on track, the 10th Hersher transformed people into puppets, who poses a hive mind and gorilla level tactics. Now, the last three were strong, but manageable, as Firemoth's arsenal grew bigger and stronger, until the 11th Hersher came, that is. It had the power to destroy any and all technology used by humans. It was very devastating, like 70% of the human population dead, devastating. The only ones that stood a chance against the 11th Hersher were 13 Mantis soldiers, who would eventually be called the Flame Chasers, an unofficial group made by Elysia, and are seen in the Elysian realm in Honkaiimpact 3rd. The 12th Hersher was a bit confusing as it possessed a girl named Rin, and didn't have any power of a Hersher, despite being confirmed to be one. So what would you do with her? Firemoth decided to confine, torture, and study her, which later led to her death, giving birth to the actual Hersher, which later led to this Hersher corrupting the last 300 nukes that were supposed to be used against the Honkai to be used against the last 3 cities in the world, leaving only about 31,000 people alive.
もしいつかこうやって私に対してトリガーを引くことで大多数の人々を助けられるのならケビン、あなたはどうするの？
The next Hersher was revealed to be Elysia. Her story is far too long to explain, and she has nothing to do in a video about Kevin. So to give a very quick synopsis, Elysia was the first Hersher born in the previous era. She traveled the world, not knowing that she was a Hersher, fought the Honkai, and learned to appreciate both humanity and Hershers together. So to try to bring humanity and Hershers together, she made a final banquet, inviting all the Flame Chasers that were alive. Only 4 of them came: Kevin, Aponia, Eden, and Vilvi. They talked, she gave them crystal flowers, and sacrificed herself to have future Hershers be capable of choosing to fight for humanity. A few days later, the final Hersher descends. The last 8 members fight her on the moon and later immobilize her, with only 2 dead. Kevin comes back to Earth, seen made dead by Honkai corruption, along with a note saying sorry and a baby made with Kevin's and May's genes. Before the final Hersher is revived, Kevin and most of what's left of humanity enter their cryopods and enter the current era, while the final Hersher destroys the entirety of the previous era. Kevin, with baby and sword in hand, vows to give humanity hope and defeat the Honkai, no matter the cost.
イカロスはうぬぼれゆえにそれが招いた事故によって命を落としたとみんなは思っている。しかしもしそれがずっと昔からやろうとしていたことだとしたら、彼は幼い頃こんなことを言っていた。私は天へと飛び上がり、落ちることで勝利を迎える。
だが、それに何の価値がある？他人に踏みにじられる階段を与え、己の失敗で高くまで飛ぶなと戒めるためとでも。
逆だ。彼はあえてあることを証明したかったんだ。私は太陽の目の前まで飛び上がった。そこは誰もが及ばない場所。だから誰かが私を超えられるかもしれない。さて、鳥はなぜ飛ぶと思う
？To help the current era fight the Honkai, Firemoth, before the previous era was destroyed, made Project Save with 4 other projects. Ember, which was given to Fu Hua, Fu Shi, and Nuwa, to use the knowledge from the previous era and teach the people of the current era of such knowledge. Valuka, given to Kevin's best friend Sue, used the second divine key to view worlds in the imaginary tree that succeeded against the Honkai. The imaginary tree, in a very simple oversimplification, is a very massive tree that holds many universes in branches or leaves. Project Arc was given to Gricio, which essentially made her travel space to look for planets not affected by the Honkai. And then Stigma. This project was originally given to Sue, but Kevin was a good guy and took Stigma from him. Stigma was the worst project because it made people to be affected by the Honkai hopefully be given a stigmata whilst killing billions of people. Side note, that project would eventually change during the events of Chapter 33, where instead of killing people for a sliver chance of gaining immunity to Honkai, those that couldn't develop that immunity would be sent to a spiritual Adam, which should be familiar as it was mentioned in HSR. So during this time in the current era, 3 out of the 4 projects were taking too long and were considered failures by Kevin. Ember led to Honkai growing stronger, Valuka didn't find any worlds not covered by Honkai, and the Ark didn't find any planets. So, very hesitantly, Kevin begins to test Stigma, despite him not liking doing this. Sue confronts and tries to stop Kevin by sending him to the Sea of Quanta along with him. The Sea of Quanta is an area outside of the imaginary tree, which holds and destroys bubble universes as food. Kevin stops fighting him and yeets Sue out of the sea, hoping that Sue finds a world before he escapes. Kevin doesn't appear again until chapter 12, where Kevin defeats Seela, Bronia, and a younger Welt. He makes multiple minor appearances across multiple chapters, until the last 3 chapters of part 1, where Kevin implements the change to Project Stigma, which was almost successful, until he was defeated as a final boss of part 1 by the main trio, and a major fourth wall break across all games, making the player character a higher dimensional being. Now Kevin lives happy in the afterlife with all of his comrades and friends.
A good overview of Kevin, because he was kind of like one of the final bosses in a way, I think. Like not like the final boss, but like he was towards the end of the game as a boss, I think. And yeah, it's a little. I think he's a little less complicated than Otto. I think I kind of mentioned this before. Like he see, there's a little. I think there's a little bit more good in him than there was in Otto. By maybe some, mistakes in that, but pretty good. I saw Crow the Corvid. new name, I believe, on the playlist, and the Homo Labs and Potato Almanac. So yeah, very very nice. Good video. Went over some things that I like, after listening to this whole playlist, like I know this kind, I know these lore, like I remember I learned about the one them killing Sakura's sister as like the Hersher, and I didn't know that, but now I know that now, and so it's like now when people say that, it's like, oh, I know what you're talking about. That's right. That's cool. That's cool. This is our official upload. Do a few more videos here. I think there's some short ones coming up, shorter at least. Main story look back theater. Ooh. So is this like a summary of the whole thing?
地球にとって崩壊は長く存在している災害です。生物を侵食し、疫病を生み、気候を変え、その形は多く枚挙にいとまがありません。終焉の眉という源は自身に封じられた時間の権能を用い、全てをリセットします。誰もその終わり方を変えられませんでした。現在の人類に全文明と呼ばれるあの時代までは、天才の頭脳と無数の犠牲を頼りにし、あの時代の人々は終焉の眉に崩壊の意志という枷を与えました。結果、次世代の律者は全文明と一致するようになりました。その成果も分かりやすく、たびたび律者が降臨しても人類が支払う代価は以前より減りました。しかし終焉の律者の前では同じ失敗を繰り返すようで、そのため最悪と言われた成婚計画は実行されることになります。計画の執行者はヨルムンガンドの孫子ケビン、全文明最強の戦士、旧姓の命を背負う英傑です。彼は全力で成婚計画を実行し、もう一人の私を犠牲にし、終焉の眉の権能を手に入れました。もちろん成婚計画は不変ではありません。無数の人の命を犠牲にし、崩壊に適用可能な個体を殲滅するプランもありました。しかし研究士の関連実験はキアナ・カスラナに阻止されました。そして今完成した成婚計画は転写によって人類を夢に落とし、成婚のイデアを新たな種にし、人類の代わりに文明を作らせようとしています。本当に最悪な計画ですね。一方、火種計画は厳密に言えば具体的な内容はありません。メイ博士曰く、それは揺るぎない夢と不変の真我を頼りにし、実現した暁には人類に最高の結末をもたらしてくれるそうです。理解はできませんが尊重します。なぜなら確率は低くても私たちは確かに似た奇跡を見届けましたから。今の時代にあの無垢の人のような人間性を持つ律者、起源の後継者、人の律者が生まれました。
You know, of all the interpretations of it, have they ever canonically all sat on the beach and had some fun? Like, we had Cooking with Valkyries, like so many of these, like the slice of life ones. Like, I don't exactly know like the canonical value in those, but like, have they ever all canonically? Because they're always so happy, and then it's like this isn't actually real. Like reality is, it's a bunch of pain for them mostly. You know.
部下を経て完全な断りの律者になり、未来を創造する権能を手にしました。ライデン・メイは己の意志で起源に触れ、終点で得られるものを決めました。
してギアなカスラナも現世の奇跡としてその両手で運命の方向を変えるでしょう。しかし彼女たちが崩壊に勝つ確率は低いままです。これはメイ博士の私に対する期待なんでしょうか。理性が反対したとしても私は彼女たちの未来を信じたいと思っています。
Nice video. Not exactly the sort of summary I was expecting, but it kind of was. Here's the Moon story. This is a web event. I think this is just uploaded from the game, not exactly a you know, like a made. This was like taken from the game. And I think this is going to be the final video we do this time around. This is the last one for today, and then of course we'll be back next time as well. But the Moon Story Honkaiimpact web event.
崩坏，他滋生恶难。
One more time, but with subtitles on.
崩坏，它滋生恶难，毁损平静，使世界陷入了前所未有的动荡。但困境同样也能激发善意，催生希望。少女们的故事从不始于灾难，而是一个又一个微小的美好。 彼时，他们竭力逃过崩坏兽的追击，带着满身疲惫、累累伤痕，躲入破败的公寓。夜晚何其漫长，但有了交心的朋友，便足以迎接黎明。奇妙的相遇之后，三位少女收获了一段弥足珍贵的时光。她们或是悠游校园，或是率性玩闹。 又或是与老师斗智斗勇。是啊，我们没法回到过去，可过去赠予我们的微光，却能照亮未来。心怀如此信念的少女，追寻着蓝色的蝶影，以理之名，直抵深海的尽头。 人的约定化作如一的意志。
It's like a
彼岸之花
virtual pop-up book of Honkai, you know, if they like those pop-up books.
而他们二人之间，纵使言语无法尽数传达，纵使形式时而背离本愿，但只要愿意敞开心扉，他们总能跨越曾经无法跨越的困难。 好朋友，不都是如此吗？对于不甚熟悉的人们，少女曾有意回避，不做辩解。她深知顾虑来自何处，亦体谅忌惮与疏远。可她却不曾料想，那些热情和善意，其实本就徘徊于每个人的心底。 只待时间携走引诱，亦或火焰点燃明日。在遥远的意境中，少女的伙伴正独自探寻着往事的秘密。她体验螺旋的奇迹，亦目见空梦的幸运。 他欣赏繁星的画作，感受无限的求索与熬灭的赤诚。而在更加遥远的过去，那13位烛火者也曾有着与众无异的平凡日常， 他们的故事都被少女牢牢记在心底。因为她的善良，人类的意志得以传承；因为他们的付出，文明的火种得以延续；因为每一个人的希望，3位少女得以与此并肩，为世界上所有的美好而战。从不是因为害怕失去，而是因为我们拥有。
Yeah, that was a nice little event thing. Yeah, very nice. Kind of another like summary kind of thing in a nice event. Yeah, and yeah, the end of part 1. We got it. Not the end of this playlist though, or the end of reacting to Honkai stuff, because we are simply only at 142 of 210. So we got some more on the horizon. Yeah, I'm excited for more, like seeing like what goes on next, like with these videos, these types of videos about part 2. What are they kind of like, and maybe even like a little after, like what is next? When is there anything between now and part 2 that I'm like not thinking of? We'll see, but absolutely beautiful. GG's to Honkai. Seeing the graduation trip and hearing that song again, that definitely hit different. Hit the feels. And yeah, that might have been the last like animated short and song kind of thing. I don't know if there's any ones that I remember next. So yeah, maybe I'll try to go back and listen to some of the music at some point. I'll have to see and think about that, but for now, guys, stay tuned to next time, because I'm not staying on the moon. We may be on a train trucking along this playlist, but we're not done yet. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like or dislike, subscribe or don't subscribe. No, it's always up to you. I'll see you guys in the next video you watch of me. I'm gonna try and something in the next but I'm gonna try to do something Honkai related that's not this playlist. Like, I know I've mentioned a few things before, and like I kind of haven't got I still plan it. Like, for example, I would like to check out like maybe like the manga stuff for like a video. I need to see how I'm gonna go about doing that. But maybe not like crazy soon. Like, I'm still gonna like focus on this playlist, but at some point I do want to do something again else that's, you know, Honkai, but not like solely this playlist. So yeah, I'm gonna see about that. Stay tuned for that. For now though, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next one. Good boy.